Okay, good evening, folks. Back once again with another update on my printer build. Got a little bit done this evening. As you can see now, I have fitted the bottom plate. Well, it's not finalised yet. As you're well aware, I'm waiting for countersunk screws to come home. So I've just used standard cap screws or Allen bolts for the meantime, just so that I can progress the build somewhat, and then when the countersunk screws come home that I'm waiting for, I can then ascertain how deep or wide that I need to countersink the holes. At least now I know that the holes are in the correct position and it's all coming together. As you can see, I've started to assemble some of the components. Now, my reason for doing this particular video this evening is to highlight 2 points or 2 mistakes that I have made this evening. The first was I went and cut my timing belt. At the time, the whole frame was in the other orientation. This was at the back, and I'd been adjusting the rods, just doing the sort of fine adjustment of the rods, and I was busy drilling the holes and getting the runners and the bearings to run smoothly. Yeah. And I'd just kind of completed that, and I thought, oh well, I can get the belt cut to length so that it'll be ready to secure when I get the little brackets home. Now, I had the belt like that, okay? So I don't think I need to tell you what happened. I just thought, well, I'll make it so that the belt is meeting in the middle, and then I've got a bit of play then to adjust the belt if I need to. Yes. So, my intention was to have the clips somewhere in the near the middle of the plate. So that's not going to happen. Luckily, the belt is long enough to still reach both sides of the board once I have it meshing with the pulley. So I've got about 30mm of belt on either side of the board, so that's going to be sufficient. And in hindsight, I'll need a hole in the middle for the thermistor, so that'll be fine, right? I've got no problems there. My other issue that I have this evening, or made that slight error in that I've done today, is as you can see, I've cut 2 notches out of the board, and this small recess here also. This was just so that I would get full travel on the board without the board interfering with the pulley guide or the belt guide, and without it interfering with this Y bracket. Now, it might still be interfering slightly with the washers or something, possibly the black bracket, because there is, I don't know if you can see here, but I'll see if I can get it. We do still have about 1mm between the bearing housing and the bottom of the bracket. There is a millimetre of play there. So there's something preventing the full travel from occurring. But I think I can live with that. It's just I think it might just be the washers actually. The washers are maybe possibly just touching either the board or the purple bearing housing. So I think that's near enough. You know, I'm not going to fart around with that anymore. However, after assembling the board and getting all the holes correctly positioned, drilled out to size, I did encounter one or two small issues where the holes weren't quite in a straight line, so that if you can imagine, I'm making a pronounced angle here. If the holes were in that orientation, then the bracket then in turn is at an angle which isn't going to run in line with the rail along there. So then it required a little bit of filing to just open the hole out a little bit so that they could all be aligned correctly. Because remember, these little bolts do hold the bearing housing, which in turn holds the bearing, and these bearings have to run align correctly with one another. Not only in this orientation, they have also got to be correctly spaced in that orientation, so that they don't get tight or by getting too narrow or by getting too far apart. They've got to be perfectly in alignment. So, having said that, it's maybe not quite as free as I would have hoped. I don't know if that's, I'm not putting any, I'm not putting a lot of force into that. I remember watching a video where a simple test was if they lifted it up, it ran freely. So if I lift the base up somewhat, I'm at maybe 15-20 degrees there. And if I do it in the opposite direction, I think that'll be sufficient. I don't know. This is my first time building a printer. I've never actually built one before. So we'll see. It might need to be stripped and redone once I get it all connected up and running. But for the moment, I'm going to say that's good, and I'll find out in time whether or not that is the case. So that was the two small. So I've got all these fixings and holes and bits cut out of the board now, so that's all ready. But I went to mount the motor, and as you can see, the motor is interfering right here on this corner, so I can't mount it correctly as it sits at the moment. So this bracket is going to have to be shifted 5mm to the right, which will mean then in turn this bearing and its washers, as well as the bearing here at the back and its washers, will also have to be moved 5mm to the right to retain the belt's alignment. But that is then going to mean that these recesses, which I've cut out precisely, will also have to be widened. So it's not a big deal, but it means I'll have to remove this. That was going to happen anyway, because I'm fully intending on replacing these cap screws, with countersunk cap screws. So I'm not as far on as I look, basically. It's coming, you know. Rome wasn't built in a day. I've seen boys assemble these machines in a single day. They must be at 24/7. It'll become as fast as they have become. But I like to take my time over it, make sure it's right, try and avoid any problems down the line. So yeah, I've got the Z carriage just tied up out of the way for the time being. Still waiting for the bearings for it as well. So yeah, I think that's about all for now, folks. It's coming on. I did get the top board cut as well. I haven't started working on it really yet. What I'm intending is that I'll put these countersunk screws in, because ideally I'd like to have the top board flat on this board. Now I don't know how I'm going to achieve that as it stands, because when the bracket goes on here, that's going to be a prominence, which this board will not be able to, this board won't be able to lie flat on this board because of that two brackets. Whether or not I create some recesses in the bottom of this board, I don't know yet. I haven't thought about it. But I've got the 4 holes drilled here in the corners, and over there, for bolts to come down through this board. Now this board currently doesn't have any holes drilled in it, but it will be basically sitting there in that orientation, like so. And again, I'll have to cut recesses out of the board to allow full movement or full travel on the axes. And then finally, when that's been done, another 4 holes get drilled into the corners of this board, because the 4 in this corner are obviously going to be sort of centralised here somewhere, sort of like so somewhere. And by what I've seen, because this board gets, I think it heats till about 120 degrees centigrade or something, so it's it's quite hot. It's often elevated away from the board. Some people use spacers, others use small springs. So I'm going to experiment with different methods of doing that. And then once that's elevated, I think it's only just about 10 millimeters or so. It's not much. It's just that's enough to prevent any damage or risk of fire. I might cover this board in aluminium, and then this is actually covered then in a sheet of glass to protect the actual board, the heated element itself. And it's the glass that gets hot. It sort of allows the the plastic to adhere to the glass, and it's easier to get the plastic off the glass than it is to get the plastic off of this board. So yeah, alright, that's 15 minutes already folks, so I'm going to leave it at that for one night. I'll try and get a little bit more done tomorrow. Hopefully my countersunk screws will be tomorrow. Quite looking forward to getting them. And the bearings will finish off this carriage up here as well. If I can get the bearings, I can start getting these all pinched up, and likewise with the housings underneath here, get put screws through there and pinch them up. So, and get this, maybe I'll get this shifted as well tomorrow. Get the, there's a lot. It all takes time. It takes a lot of time actually. You'd be surprised. So, yeah. There we go. Doesn't look much, does it? I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun once it's up and running and it's printing out 3D items. I'm going to be pretty bloody chuffed with myself. Oh, there's something I thought I could do with getting that bolt sorted out. I admitted I only ordered one belt and one pulley, and I forgot all about the belt and pulley required for this axis. So I've already ordered that a couple of days back, so that'll be coming as well. So that's something else that'll be something else on the next part, or the next stage of the build, I guess. I'm thinking about going with a ramps control board. It seems to be one of the most popular, and it's also got the most functionality, and it's, well, I'd say reasonable, but I think it's about 60 quid just for a little wee printed circuit board. It's, I'd say it's overpriced myself for all that's on it. You've got, I think, 4 steppers or 5 steppers on it, and a few other components. But for what you're actually getting, that's printed out in the tens of thousands in China somewhere probably. What you're actually getting and the actual value of the individual components on the board, it's pennies, and they're charging 60 quid for it. So there's a lot of profiteering going on there. It'll be interesting to see how much 3D printer actually retails for when the electronic giants actually get round to producing one. I'm hoping there'll be a lot substantially less than this is actually costing me. So, but we'll see. That'll be another year or two, I'd imagine. However, the cost is important, but it's all about the actual build process, and I'm getting a lot of enjoyment just building the thing. So, but I'm getting really quite excited because I can see how close it's coming now. And I know I've got a long way to go yet, but imagine plugging this into your computer and printing something out. It's just going to be fantastic fun, I really will. So I'm really looking forward to this. Yeah, right. You don't know what I'll hear about that. I'll see you again tomorrow, folks, or whenever I get around to doing another video. Thanks for watching.